And after years saying this, it finally happened. Yuya Hirose is going to make his solo debut this summer, and let's talk about it because I'm super excited about this, to the point that this episode was recorded in the same day that the announcement was made. So let's kick off this episode of SEIYUU Lounge. Welcome to SEIYUU Lounge, I am your host Vanessa, and in this episode let's talk about Yuya Hirose's solo debut. Finally it has happened. I've been saying this for years, that he deserved the solo debut, and finally we get to see that happening. So this was announced on Yuya Hirose's birthday. He just recently turned 30 years old, and he announced a couple of really important things, namely, he's going to finally make his solo debut, he's signed with Lantis, and he has an album in the works as well as a solo tour planned. This is massive for various reasons, and let's start talking about those reasons. First of all, there's barely any male SEIYUU that have debuted in the past that have had this big package at the start. You usually don't debut with a full-length album, which is a surprise. And you also don't debut with a full tour announced, which is another surprise, which leads me to say that Lantis is investing a ton of money in Yuya Hirose and thinking that Yuya Hirose is going to be the next big thing at Lantis. Honestly, if I was in their place, I would say yes, because they managed to snag one of the most interesting tenors among male SEIYUU, super versatile. He has a ton of range, not only emotional, but also his vocal range in terms of the tone itself is really interesting to listen to, and has a super smooth voice. I don't know what is the music genre that he will be approaching, because I made it my mission to not check any previews of anything. So, we know there is going to be a lyric video for Velvet Parade, the leading single in this full-length album. And by the cover that I'm seeing right now, I will assume that Velvet Parade is going to be quite the emotional song. I don't know in which way, but then again, I don't know what to expect from his solo debut. We will have to wait, and I will for sure be waiting for something, because I don't want to spoil myself, and I want to go almost blind into this CD, because I've been waiting for Yuya Hirose's debut for 6 years, which is a long time. You know my start of the year episodes in which I make my resolutions. This is one that I have now ticked finally, and I'm always saying Yuya Hirose should make a solo debut because he's super talented, and how come no one is basically paying attention to that? So it's really good to see that he's signed to Lantis, although it's not my first choice when it comes to a music label. Seeing what they are doing with Makoto Furukawa and everything that they started doing with Kotaro Nishiyama, I kind of now have been liking them a bit, although I still believe that, once again, if he wants to do what he wants to do, probably this may be the best music label, because he may be either an R&B or a rock artist, one of the two. I'm leaning towards rock just because of the emotional cover of Velvet Parade, but then again, Velvet gives me always the idea that it will be R&B. Once again, I don't know if they will be focusing on that, but once again, from the vibes, it is really emo in terms of the approach. I feel we will be getting pop rock instead of R&B for my sadness in this specific case, but once again, we don't know. I at least don't know, so we will have to wait. But in terms of what we have here, he signed with Lantis. The music label represents at the moment Kotaro Nishiyama, Makoto Furukawa, Shugo Nakamura, who are big names in the industry. Some of them, or most of them, are singer-songwriters, or they'll at least write their lyrics in some capacity, so it would be interesting to see if Yuya is going to write his own lyrics as well. From what I know, Velvet Parade, he didn't write anything in there. At least he is not credited in the lyrics nor in the music, so I will assume that since this is the very first single, they wanted it to be perfect, really picture perfect for what they want to achieve with his debut. So I will be waiting to see if he eventually ends up performing music that he writes, which would be fairly interesting. It was announced the release of his first full-length album, which is super ambitious. The album is called Focus, And from the cover that you will be seeing somewhere in the screen, you can tell that this is going to be fairly emo. That's my vibe. Once again, I like emo music. Is he going the Soma Saito route? Is he going those shades of emo that Makoto Furukawa has? Oh my god, if it is the case, it's going to be good. Once again, I'm waiting and I'm hopeful, and I know for sure this is going to be good because Yuya Hirose is not going to disappoint when it comes to the singing. I'm only worried that Lantis is going to disappoint with the music that they are going to share with him and let him perform. Because that's the biggest unknown in this equation. We don't know what Lantis wants to give to Yuya Hirose in terms of the music at the moment. At the moment, it's really interesting to see that finally we have Yuya Hirose set for solo debut, only waiting for Shunhori at the moment from the list that I have been saying for 6 years. So fingers crossed it happens in some capacity. But yeah, it's really exciting and Yuya is super excited about this. He mentions that in the commentary that he shared with Segura. He's super excited about that. So we may have something interesting coming our way. The album is going to be available on July, which is fairly good as a release date. We don't want to drop music in August because usually August is a really slow month. Unless you are basically a heavy hitter like Makoto Furukawa, Soma Saito, Mamoru Miyano or Yumo Uchida, you will not benefit from releasing anything in the summer or deep into the summer. So to release that in early July is actually a pretty good strategy, and it helps him to build up some hype for the release, especially with the pre-release of Velvet Parade, the music video itself, or the lyric video itself, and now all the build-up that we have with the covers being unveiled and with him finally starting to appear on magazines to talk about his music and to be more in the spotlight. So this is kind of exciting. At the same time, Lantis did something that they usually don't do, which is to announce a full-on live tour, which is insane for a solo artist. You usually don't have a tour for debut artists. You don't. Yumo Uchida didn't have, Mamoru Miyano didn't have, Soma Saito didn't have, Shota Aoi didn't have. Debut artists usually don't have a solo debut live tour. That's unprecedented. So this is something that is going to happen for the very first time, and although the tour is not super long, it's 2 dates, it's still important because he is going to perform first in Osaka and then in Tokyo to wrap it up. It is really interesting to see that although these are not big venues, they are really medium to small size, it is still going to be a solo tour on his debut year. And in one way I feel that Lantis is super ambitious in this specific case. They know that Yuya is a star, or is a star in the making, and he has everything to deliver awesome performances right from the start. He doesn't need to warm up per se and first release a CD or first release 2 or 3 singles in quick succession and only then a year later announce the tour. No, in this specific case he's going straight to the tour. It is the release of the album and then 2 months later it is the tour. That's intense, but I like the focus and I would love to see what Lantis is going to accomplish with this, and especially if Yuya Hirose is going to steal the show and make this album, Focus, become album of the year. This would be insane if he actually pulled off his debut album become my album of the year. So I'm quite interested to see what is going to happen. But once again, we may have an album by Makoto Furukawa by the end of the year. That's my prediction, and most likely Soma Saito. So this is going to be super tough in terms of the competition for album of the year, assuming everyone or all the players that I'm suspecting will be active by the end of the year will be active. And in another way, for you and for me in this specific case, since I'm a fan of almost all male SEIYUU, it's going to be a really delicious end of the year or second half of the year in which you will have tons of quality, tons of awesome music to discover and to rejoice. Basically, the start of the year is super slow and the end of the year is super strong, and Yuya Hirose is going to lead the way for the end of the year with a big release in July, a big debut in July, which is overly ambitious. remember when I said that Shoya Chiba debuting with an EP was overly ambitious because no one had ever before tried to release an EP, which was sort of conceptual from start to finish. On their debut, it was overly confident. But I like to see that this generation of SEIYUU are super confident, that to the point that Yuya Hirose is the very first SEIYUU artist to make a solo debut with a full-length album. It's insane, and I like this type of insanity. It's a confidence that I feel will be backed by the quality, the sheer quality that Yuya Hirose has. This goes without saying, in case you are wondering, since I started talking about these news of Yuya Hirose going solo as a solo artist. This is something that has been the talk in the past couple of years, especially with his work with Erosion, his amazing work with ZUL. Yuya Hirose is a powerhouse vocally, he can lead a group, he can sing, he can perform any type of music, really. You will find him with crazy EDM music, rock music, emotional ballads. You will find him with super intense dance music. He is amazing. On stage, he has tons of energy. If you actually had the pleasure of watching the first or the second Idolish 7 live, in the second one specifically, because ZUL performed in there, he was a menace on stage, and it was really interesting to see him so powerful and so dedicated to that character on stage and performing with such intensity that it was really impressive. On stage and on record, Yuya Hirose sounds exactly the same. He's unbelievably good, super cohesive. He has a really smooth, high tenor voice. He can go low if he wants to, although that's not his natural register whatsoever, so you will find him more on a natural mid to high register within the tenor range, and he sounds ethereal if he wants to, so if there are any ballads coming, you are going to be wrecked. If there are rock songs coming in the style of, for example, Makoto Furukawa, Shoya Chiba, or even Soma Saito, it's going to be a treat as well. So there may be some interesting things coming here. I'm quite excited about Focus. I saw this news and I was ecstatic. So this may be quite possibly the biggest news of the year, honestly. And if you have been following my rants over the years, you will know that I'm overjoyed because I had been saying Yuya Hirose deserves this, and he truly deserves this. It's one of those solo debuts that you know it was meant to be. He deserves this. Well, this is the end of the episode because I don't want to drag it too much, and there is not enough information at the moment about everything that we are going to have, but once again, Yuya Hirose is going to make his solo debut with the first full-length album titled Focus. The album is going to drop on July the 8th, and it will be available in 3 editions, A, B, and regular. Regular being the one that has a CD, A and B differing in cover and with different bonuses, namely the Blu-ray that comes with either a lyric video and a music video and making of, or with a photo book in some way, or a lyric book, let's say. This is going to be exciting. I anticipate a really strong solo debut. It's been a couple of years since I was this excited about a solo debut, so thankfully we have some action. I was wondering when we would get some action in terms of solo debuts, and finally we are going to get that. This one is a well-deserved solo debut, period. There is no question whatsoever about his quality, his talent, and the star power that he may have in the future, because he's a star in the making. He has been a star in the making in the past 6 years, and every single 2D project he has been a part of has benefited from having him there. And honestly, I can't wait to see what Yuya Hirose is going to do as a solo artist. I'm super happy, and in some way like a proud parent in a way, because he's a SEIYUU that I actually am super fond of. I've said before in a live stream here, it was the only SEIYUU that I somehow managed to see in person when I went to Japan for the very first time. And he's really, really an awesome artist. So he has talent to give, he has the personality that people will enjoy because he's slightly crazy, super fun, and really, really kind. And you will have here not only a really complete SEIYUU, but a really complete singer, but also with a really engaging and fun personality that I feel people will want to engage with. So these may be something that will lead to success, a lot of success further down down the line if Lantis does everything correctly. Starting off this strong with an album and a tour means that after this, he may not release music until March in the next year. So, this will probably be something really big, and I hope that at least this is something that will be good, really, really good, that we will be talking about for months. But I anticipate that after the release of the full-length album, things will quiet down. He may release a single or two by the end of 2027, but full-length album with a full-length album back-to-back will be impossible unless he wants to do that for the very first time. I will applaud him if he does that, but so far so good. We are going to get a full-length album, we are going to get a tour with 2 dates, and we have one of the most exciting solo debuts in years, so I'm all in for this. Now it's my time to ask you if you are excited about this solo debut. This was long overdue in my opinion, but I would love to know what you think about it. And once again, what are you expecting in terms of the music and of the vibe? If you have checked the covers, what do you think about the vibe of the covers? What are you expecting from the image that Lantis wants from him? Seeing that Lantis nowadays, they no longer go for that sort of weird image. They are keeping things more professional and more serious, which is good. That's a really good positive here. But yeah, I would love to know all of that in the comments. Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode, and I'll see you guys in the next one.